Upon hearing the name of Lahore in the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, the image that most often comes to mind is one of poised men and women in military uniforms carrying rifles and performing their foot-stomping routine at a ceremony situated at the border between Pakistan and India. And yet behind that border, further into Lahore, we find a very different landscape of Islamic cultural heritage, with evidence of prosperity during Mughal rule in glorious abundance. The era of Lahore as a trade center transitioned into British colonial rule. Here in a city that was once blessed with golden heights in trade and exchange, our Spirit of Asia team goes on a journey to explore the business scene operated by its present-day residents. Trade routes leading to Lahore. Lahore was once considered to be a part of India. Over the course of 1,000 years, it was the capital of the wider Punjab region. Lahore was northern India's cultural center, covering Peshawar to New Delhi. Following the partition of British India in 1947, Lahore was declared part of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Lahore, as we know it, had its golden age under Mughal rule, especially during the reign of Akbar the Great, who turned the city into the empire's capital. Lahore accomplished the heights of Mughal architectural glory. The walled city of Lahore forms the historic core of the city, with shops, houses, and buildings standing together in cultural crowdedness. There is only a small street cutting through, which allows for some stalls to be set up. The Badsahi Mosque is an important example of Mughal architecture. The mosque itself and its large courtyard are raised up upon a platform. The entrance is decorated with framed and carved wooden paneling. There are square minarets at the four corners. Above them rise three grand marble domes. During the Mughal era, India was a sovereign land with stable governance. Father Mansurat, who accompanied Akbar on his journey to Kabul in 1581, while describing the prosperity of Lahore, stated that it was second to no city in Asia or Europe, and that its shops were so full of every kind of merchandise and so crowded with people that passage was often difficult. Situated on the Ravi River with the port of Lahore Banda, the city was very well connected. The main overland and maritime trade routes led to Persia, Arabia, and Central Asia. Lahore produced silk artifacts, fine raw fabrics, shawls, satin, embroidery, carpets, sugar, and spices, which were distributed to different lands. Present-day Lahore isn't really any different from the way it was in the past. We walk along the spice road until we meet up with Shawat Farooq, who inherited his spice shop from his father.
तो मेरे बाबल का नाम मोहम्मद सादिक। वो इधर 1955 में ना मेरे बाबल ने इधर दुकान की है। बाद में फिर 72-73 में फिर मैं आया हूँ।
Shawat tells us that back in the days when his father first opened the shop, businesses did not have proper addresses. People just walked to the shops to trade and exchange grains and spices.
इधर लाहौर की पैदाइश है, लोहारी गेट की पैदाइश मेरे वाले। मेरे पास मिर्च, हल्दी, धनिया, ज़ीरा, काली मिर्च, दालचीनी, मोटी इलायची, लौंग, अनारदाना, सौंफ। पहले तो बहुत सस्ता सामान था भाई। मैंने 4 पैसे सेर मिर्च बेची, 3-4 रुपये सेर मैंने किलो बेची हुई है।
3-4 पैसे
4 रुपये किलो। अब किलो उस वक्त सेर चलता था, अब किलो चलता है। 4 रुपये सेर मैंने मिर्च खुद बेची हुई है।
और अभी कितने की है?
अभी ये 600 रुपये किलो है। महंगाई इतनी हो गई है।
Lahore used to import grains from as far east as Moradabad and Sirhind. Agra exported spices to Lahore. Up until 20 years ago, this place was a center for trading grains, ranging from wheat to corn, since the main market for distribution was located in Lahore. But over the past 2 to 3 decades, other cities have been developing their grain markets. So the larger markets began moving out of Lahore. Even then, Lahore remained a very important center for commercial distribution within the region. Products were exported to Punjab, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Kashmir, and Gilgit-Baltistan.
Lahore serves as a major hub or a major center for trade in Punjab, in KPK, in Gilgit-Baltistan, in Azad Kashmir. The major distributor of clothing, of medicine, of a lot of other things, the wholesale markets, they are located in Lahore, especially in the walled city. So all the shopkeepers or the vendors in those areas, in surrounding areas, and as far as Azad Kashmir and KPK, they come here for their in need of commodities. So things coming from outside the country, even from China, you will see them, the major wholesale market being in Mochi Gate in Lahore, and the people who want to buy those things in wholesale, they come from Azad Kashmir, from KPK, and buy it from here, and then they take them out. So that's the major distribution center. Because of that, all the transportation companies are located here. All the trucking companies. If you go to Lahore walled city during night, because during day the traffic is not allowed, you will see hundreds of trucks which are being parked there, which bring commodities from the Karachi and from other areas, which are brought here.
Since Lahore was a center of trade and exchange, people traveled here from all over. Some came here to meet with the Mughal emperor, others arrived here to buy, sell, and form business contacts. So caravanserai and bathhouses were a common sight in Lahore. The Shahi Hammam is a Turkish bath built during the reign of Shah Jahan. In its day, the bathhouse offered hot, warm, and cold plunges. A Lahori-based guide named Gazer Hussain tells us that following Sikh rulership, the Shahi Hammam was demolished.
जो दिल्ली गेट के पास हमाम है वो नवाब वज़ीर खान ने वो हमाम बनाए थे, तो वो जो है उसमें आम लोग आकर जो है ना वो नहाते थे। दूर दराज इलाकों से उस वक्त 4-5 दिनों का सफ़र करके आते थे, ऊँटों पर घोड़ों पर वो सफ़र करके आते थे। फिर जब वो थक जाते थे उधर आकर वो कुछ फ़ीस पे करते थे। चंद दिन वो लेडीज़ के लिए होते थे और हफ्ते के कुछ दिन मुकर्रर थे जेंट्स के लिए, तो वो अपनी बारी पर जो है ना वो वहाँ पर जाते थे। तो वो बड़े खूबसूरत हमाम बनाए हुए हैं, लेकिन वो आम लोगों के लिए थे। वो आम लोग आकर नहा धोकर फिर उसके बाद जो है वो दीवाने आम में बादशाह के पास पेश होते थे, बादशाह को अपने मसले मसाइल बताते थे। उसके बाद जो है ना वो मार्केटों के अंदर चले जाते थे, अंदरून शहर में अपना कारोबार के अंदर मसरूफ़ हो जाते थे। और लेकिन ये जो है ना ये हमाम जो है ये शाही फैमिली के हमाम है, ये शाहजहां का और मुमताज़ महल के हमाम है।
The Ravi River began changing its course during a time when people were busy making a living. The narrowing of the Indus River reduced the flow of the Ravi River to the point of the Ravi drying up.
फोटोआं बना रहे हैं भी भेज देते हैं उन्होंने और कह रहे साथ पता तो ऐसे खरीदते हैं कि
River was a major means of transportation, but later on it became secondary. Not only because it has moved away, but also because it was more economical and quicker to move it through the railways. And mind you, railway is the instrument through which these time zones were developed. Because before that the mode of travel was so slow that it didn't matter that what time you started and where you are going. But because of that quicker way of going through railways, that they had to define the time zones that now, I mean, you started during the noon and you got there where you wanted to, even in the noon, so you had to define the time zone. So railway was instrumental in having the time zones defined. So the quicker way of moving, railway, it replaced river as a means of transport.
While the Ravi River was reducing its flow, railway construction began under British rule of India, with lines running from Bombay to Lahore and on to Rawalpindi. The soil of Lahore was sunken when the British began construction due to remains of buildings and other structures of the old city which had been torn down during the Sikh invasion. But the British insisted upon building a railway station in Lahore to accommodate staff, to organize and store merchandise, and also to provide conveniences for passengers who were traveling to and from distant towns.
During First World War, there was a lot of conscription, the forceful recruitment into the army by the British, because they needed manpower to fight in Europe and in North Africa and in the Middle East. And Lahore was one of the centers because they had a garrison in Lahore Fort, which was a hiring center. They would hire people from all over the region who would stay in Lahore Fort. They would remain there for 3 days. Then they would be shipped off to places. So the railway connection was made to the Lahore Fort. So the railway line was laid to connect it, Lahore Fort, with the railway system. So because of being a hub, transportation hub, Lahore also prospered. And it had even in Mughal times, it had a mint which was minting money. And then even in British time, there was a mint which made coins. So in terms of financial aspects, Lahore was a major manufacturing and contributing factor to the money making and to making coins and other currency issues.
The railway in Lahore under British operation really changed the people's way of life. It also changed the overall picture of transportation networks by speeding up travel time and increasing the quantities of transported merchandise. These transformations caused Lahore to become an even more prosperous trade center than what the city had accomplished in the past. The Kira salt mine, commonly known as the Pink Salt Mine, is located not very far from Lahore. Salt from the mine is also transported to Lahore by train. Ali Hassan is entering his 8th year of working here at Kira Mine. He tells us that the pink salt can only be sourced along the salt ranges of these mountain zones, just as the salt range of Kira Mine stretches a total length of 300 kilometers.
यहाँ पे 1000 के करीब माइनर्स हैं जो लोग नमक निकालते हैं और वही लोग हैं जो लोग नस्ल दर नस्ल यहाँ पे काम कर रहे हैं, रजिस्टर्ड माइनर्स हैं सर। रोज़ाना का जो हम नमक निकाल रहे हैं वो 1500 से 2000 मैट्रिक टन है, जिसमें से 50 पाकिस्तान में यूज़ होता है एंड 50% एक्सपोर्ट द ऑल एशियाज़ कंट्री।
Walking around the salt mine, there is the surprising smell of moisture. Ali Hassan tells us that this is the smell of magnesium, which according to scientific research has anti-asthmatic actions, which are very well suited to treat the condition. Asthmatic patients have chosen to have their treatment here for months at a time, and upon departure from the mine, they are completely healed. Furthermore, the pink color of this Himalayan salt is due to its contents of magnesium, potassium, and calcium. It's unlike the white salt, which acquires its color from sodium chloride.
हमारी सर तकरीबन तीसरी जनरेशन यहाँ पे काम कर रही है। पहले मेरे परनाना अबू थे, मेरे वालदा के वालिद साहब, फिर उनके वालिद साहब, वो यहाँ पे जनरेटर ऑपरेटर थे PMDC इसी इदारे में। उसके अलावा फिर मेरे नाना अबू आ गए, फिर तीसरी जनरेशन मेरी है, मैं यहाँ पे हूँ। वालिद साहब मेरे और काम करते थे, तो वो हमें बताते हैं कि जो हिस्ट्री है, जो उनको पता थी जब ये घूमने फिरने के लिए जगह नहीं थी, तो यहाँ से जितना नमक निकलता था वो मुग़ल टाइम में हाथों के ज़रिए काम करते थे, हैंडमेड वर्क था, और बाहर ले जाने के लिए घोड़ों और खच्चरों को इस्तेमाल किया जाता था। एक रास्ते से हम आए हैं जहाँ से मैं आपको लेके आऊँ, इसके अलावा इस माइन के 3 रास्ते और हैं जो बैक साइड से हैं, जिन रास्तों को हम नमक को बाहर ले जाने के लिए मूव कर रहे हैं। बाद में यहाँ पे ब्रिटिश टाइम आ गया। ब्रिटिश टाइम में नमक को निकालने के लिए ट्रेन यूज़ करते थे। यहाँ पे इलेक्ट्रिक ट्राम आ गए, इलेक्ट्रिक इंजन आ गए, जो बोगीज़ के ज़रिए नमक को लोड करके यहाँ से बाहर निकालते थे।
Mine workers have been here for generations. Working in the salt mine is a guarantee of lifelong employment as well as a considerably high income. In the old days, mine workers were rewarded with the pink salt itself, especially before the Mughal era. Many villages were set up around the mine, one of them being Dalwal village located near a market. The villagers exchanged salt for food by using their salt in place of currency.
ब्रिटिश टाइम में से इस माइन के साथ ही तकरीबन 1-1.5 किलोमीटर के फासले पर एक रेलवे स्टेशन है, खेवड़ा रेलवे स्टेशन। वहाँ पे सर ट्रेन आती थी जो कोल से चलती थी उस वक्त। वो ट्रेन सर यहाँ से नमक को लेके मलकवाल जंक्शन पे जाती थी और मलकवाल जंक्शन से आगे लाहौर, फैसलाबाद, रावलपिंडी और जेलम की तरफ नमक मूव होता था।
Kira salt mine was discovered during the reign of Alexander the Great, but it was actually during British rule that the largest number of mines were excavated. The British organized a more effective level of planning for Kira mine using the underground room and pillar method, where miners blast the salt into manageable pieces, which protects the entire mine from falling apart. Over the past 223 years, only 5% of the salt from these deposits has been extracted. Pink salt has been exported all over the world. It's popular in making lamps and spa salts. It's also used in cooking. But not many people know that this Himalayan pink salt is actually produced in Pakistan, not India, as many people believe. This misconception exists because during the early stages, Pakistan did not have the ways and means of processing the raw pink salt. So the extracted salt was sent to neighboring countries like India at affordable prices. The salt is then packaged and sealed up in India, and from there the product is exported to other countries. It got to the point in 2019 that the Pakistani government put a stop to the export of pink salt to India. After that period, permission for exportation could be obtained, but only if the resumption of exports took place under the condition of a statement that the salt was produced in Pakistan. And yet, pressure and competition between Pakistan and India don't only restrict themselves to the areas of salt production and distribution. The intense rivalry between the two countries also exhibits itself through other peaceful ways and means. Some examples are the Wagah border ceremony, which has become a major tourist attraction, and the Indian and Pakistani military meet at this border post to display camaraderie and showmanship, while emphasizing that this ritual has become an unseen aspect that definitely must not be missed. Here at the Wagah border between Lahore, Pakistan and Amritsar, India, soldiers on both sides fulfill their duty of drumming and trying to outdo the other country's soldiers. They shout passionately, "Pakistan Zindabad," or "Long live Pakistan." On the Indian side, the soldiers shout back, "Long live India." While they battle each other with weapons of entertainment, the two neighbors have remained interlinked by family ties. Some families in Pakistan still have relatives remaining in India. This separation occurred during the period when the British split the land into Pakistan and India.
ปกติแล้วนะครับผมจะสามารถเดินทางด้วย3ทางนะครับผมก็คืออย่างแรกเลยคือด้วยรถไฟนะครับผมแล้วก็ด้วยรถบัสที่เป็นบัสพิเศษเฉพาะที่วิ่งระหว่างอินเดียกับปากีสถานเสร็จแล้วก็โดยการเดินเท้าบัสกับรถไฟเนี่ยตอนปัจจุบันไม่มีแล้วซึ่งเหลือเฉพาะการเดินเท้า ความถี่หรือว่าจำนวนประชากรที่ข้ามไปมาระหว่างสองฝั่งเนี่ยครับผมก็หลักๆก็จะมี2 กลุ่มแรกก็คือว่ากลุ่มที่ได้สัญชาติ2 สัญชาติพวกที่มี2 สัญชาติเนี่ยก็สามารถข้ามได้เลยเสียค่าผ่านทางประมาณ200 รูปีก็สามารถเดินข้ามได้เลยแต่สำหรับคนที่ไม่มีสัญชาติ2 สัญชาติเนี่ยก็ต้องขอวีซ่าเพราะฉะนั้นจะขึ้นอยู่กับว่าสามารถได้วีซ่าของแต่ละประเทศอินเดียได้วีซ่าปากีเท่าไหร่หรือว่าปากีได้วีซ่าอินเดียเท่าไหร่ก็จะขึ้นอยู่กับปริมาณขนาดนั้นครับผมส่วนด่านเนี่ยก็จะเปิดถึงแค่ประมาณบ่าย 3
ก็คือเดินเท้าหมายความว่าเอารถส่วนตัวข้ามไปมา
ไม่ได้ครับไม่ได้
ยังไงต้องไปต่อรถ
ใช่
โดยสารท้องถิ่น
ใช่ครับผม
Just how does one assign meaning to Lahore and its people? They tell us that Lahore is Lahore. It's a unique place, unlike any other. The people here conduct their livelihoods upon the combined foundation of British modernization and Mughal imperial history. Lahore is a very colorful border city that has played an important role in building avenues of income for Pakistan from the past and the present.